Okay, welcome everyone. Let's start the afternoon session. So this is the laboratory session or practice session for lecture 1. And the material for today is a GitHub Classroom assignment, which you got the invite link. And I'm going to go through the process. So when you click the invite link, you get something like this when you're accepting this assignment, and it will create a repository with a postfix with your GitHub username. And it takes it takes some time. It copies the starter code. I'm supposed to refresh it. Yes, I'm ready to go. So let's go to my very own assignment repository. So this is your own, it's private. And please do not share it with others. Only us, the instructors, and you have access to this repository. And you have full access, so you can push the code here. We'll use the last submission before the deadline as your final submission. So you can push as many times as you want to. And I'm going to be cloning this through SSH, which is an easier way than HTTPS. Once you set up the SSH keys, GitHub has a tutorial for that. So I'm not going to go through that part right now. But let me go to a new repository. And if I go inside this repository, oh, it's long. I can find two files, a README and the exercise notebook itself. And I'm gonna start the Jupyter notebook here. I have an alias for Jupyter notebook because I use it so much. And as you can see, there is a single, I see the same files that I saw in the terminal. And once we open it, we find a bunch of exercises. Now the table of contents is very useful. And the numbers are auto-generated. So at least some of the numbers here, they are auto-generated. I think in the next one, we numbered the exercise as well. And the way this works is that in each exercise, there are 0 or more tests. In the first part, these are very introductory exercises, so we did not add tests because you can simply, you are simply supposed to print something, so you can test it manually. Once we get to the second part, which is after all the user inputs are also difficult to test in Jupyter. But once we get to the more interesting part, functions, here you will find tests. Anything that is an assert statement is a test. So if you I don't speak Russian, so sorry. Thank you.
I think someone might have forgotten that. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, feel free to ask questions, but in English preferably.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
That is regarding the assertions. Is it possible to change these in the code?
No.
Or in the code box?
No, I was about to get to there. No, but you can add new ones.
Because there is in one example, there's a mistake where two same assertions have a different outcome.
Where? Which one?
It's the Fibonacci numbers, get n Fibonacci. And
yes.
Yeah, no,
the
two boxes
one.
down. It says get Fibonacci 4 and it
oh.
should be 8.
I don't know how this happened because this
Should
was
be 8.
test. Yeah, it is. There is a mistake here.
Yeah, just if it's automatically graded, that would be a
Yes, I
problem.
know. There is one way to change it. I didn't want to show it to you. So yes, you can change it if you change the metadata, and this is supposed to be, I think, 8.
If you're using Python, PyCharm, you can edit it instantly.
Yeah, but please don't do that. Because it will break the autograder. And we have to then manually fix everything. I don't know how this happened because it's supposed to check it manually.
But using PyCharm on its own is no problem, or?
It's not a problem. Just there are some very important metadata, like if you go here and change this checksum or this ID, that will break everything for us. And we'll probably ask you to resubmit. Okay, how can I make this disappear? None. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So yes, we have tests here, any answer statement, and you're not supposed to change this. You also are not supposed to change the instructions, but I don't see why you would want to. And by default, you cannot change it. There are tricks that such as the one I showed you. There are tricks to change it, but by default, you're not supposed to change it. The tests are supposed to be all correct. So this has been tested a few times. I think this was something I accidentally edited after generation or something like that, but this has been thoroughly tested. So it should be correct. Anyway, so some exercises have point values here. It sums to 25 points. And if you pass the test, you will get the points. But please make sure that it's not just if 3 return this, but please make sure that you actually solve the task at hand. So we expect that everybody, this is an optional class and you are here because you want to improve your Python. So we assume that you will honestly complete all the exercises, even though the tests can be hacked and the tests can be, of course, fixed just for the test cases. Okay, there was a question about the rest of the exercises, that they are not mandatory, of course, because they are 0 points. There were 0 points, but we recommend doing them. We have some advanced tasks at the end. Those are also quite interesting. And of course, you are free to add additional tests, but you should add a new cell. So what I suggest is adding a new cell and having your own assert statements here, new asserts, if you want to add tests, which you absolutely should, absolutely encourage to do. It's a good practice to add tests to your own code. Okay, what questions do we have? I see the chat. I have some time for the chat now. You should remove the this part. You can simply delete the code, delete this line in every. Actually, you can delete anything here. You are just supposed to have a solution for this for the task above. But you are, of course, the placeholder should be removed. There is an empty code cell. I think you can just I think this was just a demonstration here. So it's not important.
I tried doing this task that you just did, and it doesn't wait for input. It just goes to the next one, to the next cell, and then it says that there's a future object that cannot be interpreted as an integer.
I think you pressed enter twice or something like that. So if you have an empty input like this, does it not work?
It doesn't wait for input.
Mm. And if you do this, what does it print?
Oh, wait.
Because then you will see what's the input here. Are you running Jupyter?
Yeah, I've gone to Jupyter and then clicked on. I'm running it in my browser. Could that be the problem?
But is it a local Jupyter or some online service?
I think some online service. I'm not exactly sure.
Did you install Anaconda?
No.
Then it's an online service that might not support reading user input. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, then shall we get started with the exercises? Okay, then let's get started. Yeah.
What exactly should we do now with this Fibonacci error? Is it even important, the double assert function from 5 minutes ago? Because I didn't get the fix. Is it necessary to fix it?
No, it's not necessary. I will fix it.
Okay. And just, yeah, another question I have is regarding the standard deviation, but I think we'll get to that later.
I won't. I think I won't tell you the solution for that.
Okay.
But it's linked. It's on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, but I have to admit, I still don't understand how this Wikipedia article helps me in this regard. But yeah, I will figure it out.
You can do it with a list if you're struggling without a list.
There will be a solution. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then let's get started with the first exercise. So it's a practice of ranged built-in function. And the first one is that we have to print the numbers between 60 and 69 inclusive. Inclusive means that 69 should be included as well. And the range for that is something that starts from 60 and goes up to actually 70, because as we talked about it in the morning, it's open on the right side. So 70 is not going to be included. This is the range. It's not going to print the numbers for us right now because we have to loop through the range in order to print it. And this way it's printed. And I just want to demonstrate the black plugin. So I added some styling mistakes on purpose, and pressing this black fixes it automatically for me. Okay, let's see the next one. print the first 10 square numbers starting from 0. So what we are looking for is starting from one, sorry. We are looking for 1, 4, 9, 16, and so on. And we want the first 10. How would we go about this? Well, in the previous example, we are printing the number, but we don't have to print the number. We can print the square of the number. So we can say that let's go from 1 to 11, because we want 10 numbers, the first 10 numbers. And we can just print n times n. And as you can see here, we have a first 10 square numbers. I think I'm not going to do the last one. That's going to be your task. And I will go to reading user input to the next group of exercises. Read the number n and print the numbers from 1 to n. So we have to read one number and print the numbers up until that number. So reading something goes with the input function. We can add some text, but it's not necessary. It's actually a side effect, so it's often not desired to add something, because when you're waiting for input 1,000 times, you don't want this printed 1,000 times. But let's do this like this. Now the problem is I input a number, but the type here is string. So this is actually a string, and we need an integer for n. And now if I now enter the same number, it's now an integer 4. And we also need to store it. Let's name it n, like in the instructions. And now we can print the numbers from 1 to n. And this is the first time we are using a variable as the parameter of range. So we are going from 1 up to n plus 1, since we want to include n. And let's see what it does. It seems to work. And what does it do when I enter a negative number? It doesn't print anything because the range is empty then.
I have a question regarding
Yes?
coding practices. If you, is it the better practice to put range 1 to n plus 1, or is it fine if I do range n and then print n plus 1, or is it a longer, runtime?
I think the runtime is gonna be pretty much the same, but we can try it. I can't really tell which one is Python. Yeah. In this case, I would prefer range 1 from 1 to n plus 1 because the instructions say 1. But otherwise, I don't have a strong preference. We can time it. Which one is faster? Let's see.
I mean, it's probably not a significant difference.
No. That's my guess as well. And let's see from 0 to n. Yeah, it's the same. By the way, you can add cells like this to the notebook. It's not going to break the tests. But if it takes long, then if it takes really long, then it can time out at some point. But I doubt that you can do that unless you do something very weird on the first 2 days. Okay, let's continue if we don't have any question. I can't help with PyCharm questions, unfortunately. Maybe the other instructors can answer you. Let's continue with the next one, and I'm gonna copy this code. And actually, I'm gonna copy the whole thing, which should be done carefully. And we are supposed to print the first n square numbers. Let's see. It looks correct. Now the next one is more interesting because now we don't know how many times we have to read an input, right? Because we have to read the input until it's 0 and then print their sum. So let's read the number first. And I'm going to use a sum underscore as their sum. The reason I'm using an underscore here is that sum is a built-in function. And although you can override the built-in function with a reference. So you could say sum equals something, and then you lose the built-in function, but it's bad practice. And Jupyter helps you because the syntax highlight tells me that it's green, so this means that's a built-in function. But if I add an underscore, then now it's not a built-in function's name, but my variable. And how would we go here? So we have to do something until a condition is true. And the best way for doing that is a while loop. And we can say that until this number does not equal 0. Until then, we read it. But let's not forget the summation. And then let's print the sum at the end. And if I do it 0 times, then I get 0. Let's do 1, 5, 0. And the answer is 6. Let's add negative numbers as well. That's 10. That also looks correct. So this seems to work. I will leave this here for a moment. And questions? I think in the reduce questions, I don't want to scroll there, but I think the tests contain the function names. Yes, infinite loop is worse than having the condition in while. So we could do while true here and break out whenever it's 0, but this is better practice. I know in embedded programming it's common to use infinite loops, but it's a different case. No tests. Okay, let me check that. Test here. Oh. Yes, I think for some reason this is not the final version of the notebook that I made, because there are definitely tests here. Then you can think of the test names or the function names. You can come up with the function names yourself. Just like in the previous one, something similar. I think I will leave the rest to you, so you can work them on your own. The next one, the sum without a list, is the mean without a list is easy, except you should not include 0 in the statistics. Make sure that you don't include 0. So if I input 1 and 2 and then 0, then the mean should be 1.5.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The NB grader looks only for assertions and for errors, because like in this number example, it doesn't state whether to use int or float. You used int now, but what?
It only looks for errors, and it has tests, and it only looks for the tests passing. So the actual grading is done in the cells with the assert. That's why they are not editable.
Okay, so all the tests that are done, we can see them in the notebook.
Yes, there are no private tests.
Okay.
By the way, it has support for private tests, but we decided to make them all public.
Okay, so if we see that it runs through correctly, then we're fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But don't just optimize for the tests. So try to think about the solutions. The tests are only there to help you, but it does not guarantee that the answer is correct. Of course, we cannot cover every test case. The next one is a bit more difficult, standard deviation without a list. It can be done. And I linked the Wikipedia page here. If you look carefully, then you can find it. Okay, what I suggest now doing is that I will stop the screen sharing and the recording, but we'll stay in the meeting. And if you have any questions that you think are easier solved in orally, so you want to ask the question, then feel free to unmute yourself and we'll be here and answer your question.